Hello everyone, and welcome to another Age of Empires 4 video. I've done some adjustments to my office. I have a black background now, but regardless of that, in today's video, we're going to be covering what happens when you come into the game with a game plan, exactly your strategy of what you're going to be doing, and then your opponent does something maybe unexpected that you're not really anticipating. How best do you then adapt and adjust to give yourself the best possible ability to become victorious in that game? So that's exactly what we're going to be covering today, so let's jump right into things here. You can see I am in this matchup Rus versus my opponent who's playing Zhu Xi's Legacy, but these principles are really for any Civ matchup in the game. It's more of a general and broader strategy and execution thing that we're going to be speaking about today, so the matchup itself is not necessarily the most important. Before we even launch into some of the early game decisions that are happening here, I want to touch on what happens before you even load in, which is, of course, the loading screen. When you jump into a game, you should be taking a look at your civilization and your opponent's civilization, and ideally, based on your experience, you should be able to have a decent snapshot immediately of what is going to be happening during that game. What is your game plan? What are you going to be going for? In this place is the Rus playing on Gorge. My plan really, for the most part, is just to be going up with the 2 hunting cabin play, looking to get fast castle into horse archers, the very standard bread and butter Rus plan. So nothing too intense or crazy, very, very standard. And from my opponent, I saw he was playing Zhu Xi's Legacy. I thought in the highest meta of the game right now, the best strategy for him is to also grow pro scouts. He can get it faster than I can. He can also get way more spears out on the field thanks to his supervising ability with their imperial officials. And in doing so, it makes my life pro scouting pretty difficult. So loading screen is about halfway finished, and already just in those couple of seconds, I've been able to kind of imagine how I believe this game is going to play out. And that's what you need to be doing in every single game. And if you're not comfortable or familiar with how that matchup goes, you may be trying a new Civ, you're not really familiar with how things play out, that's completely fine. But you should always generally have an idea of what your opponent's options are. We've all been playing this game for long enough, and there's only so many civilizations. You've run into them all the time. You kind of know what they're going to do. Holy Roman Empire might be rushing castle to go for those relics. Delhi, you know that you're probably going to be prioritizing sacred sites early. Malians are going to be trying to boom up with pit mines, either going pro scouts or really doing a very large, cow boom. French are showing up on your doorstep with knights and archers, likely in a fairly aggressive push. These are the kinds of ideas of, you kind of have a snapshot idea at least of what your opponent is going to be doing in that game. So here, as I said, I'm expecting the Zhu Xi Legacy player here, Mazlak191, who is kind of like a high diamond, low conqueror player at the moment, to be doing one of those more meta strategies, which is contesting me in the Pro Scout competition, getting those deer under our TCs, or in his case, under the mill, so he can get the additional gathering from that. I'm a great player, so of course I lose a scout directly under the TC here. Fortunately, I had another scout nearby, so I do manage to grab these sheep, but already it's off to a bit of a rough start for me. You want to keep your scouts alive and not have them die, which is quite obvious. He's running out here to try and get some sheep, so I forced some idle time. We'll say that was my plan all along. But my opponent here is just kind of running around. He spotted out my deer, and we're still just kind of in the early stages of the game. We've pretty much, if I toggle Fog of War right here, you can see I've explored essentially the entirety of the map using my 3 scouts, which is the standard Ruse opener. Of course, now I'm down to 2. And my opponent is, of course, going for the Meditation Gardens. You can normally get some really good ones here on Gorge. This one is okay, I think. Get some berries, get a little bit of gold, get quite a few trees in there. So there's going to be a fairly large number of passive resources coming through for my opponent, which is good. Going up with 2 as well. I will be going up to the age faster than he does, which means, I'm in decent shape, and I very, very quickly prioritize selling off a little bit of food at the Golden Gate, and then giving myself the ability to go for professional scouts. I'm just waiting for 2 gold, and there you go. It's come in. I managed to grab a significant number of sheep. My build order is fairly clean. I'm trying to go up to 12 villagers on food here, and then I'm going to be rallying up onto the wood for the remainder of the feudal age. That's my plan. This is still going up. We have his scout here coming through. He actually gets a little bit too close, and I hop my villagers into the TC. I barely kill him. He actually typed in quick chat just /2, so it said nope. I was like, dang it, didn't quite make it. But I did have another scout popping out of this hunting cabin, and I decided, why not? I have a little bit of extra time before professional scouts is completed. I may as well see if I can chase him down. I'm over here just trying to be annoying with my scouts, burning his village, just attempting to get a little bit of idle time out of a villager, maybe having to do this. You can see he loses track of his scout for 1 second, and I manage to kill it, and very sassily I tap /1 for yes. And he then did the /11 for group laugh. It was a very heartwarming interaction in the Age of Empires community, so shout out to my opponent for having a good sense of humor there for sure. You can see I'm continuing to build up as many scouts as I possibly can. I'm still expecting that he's also going to be going for that. I do not scout this, but he has an archery range. And so all of a sudden things are maybe a bit different. We'll see. The game continues, and very quickly I start to bring this deer back to my town center. Still gathering from the sheep, but I'm going to be moving a lot of these guys over. I see this here, and then I see quite a few Jugunu coming out. In fact, this is the train. And here's the moment where things have to change for me. This is different. This is not, I'm going to make a few Jugunu to counter the spears that you're making, trying to read maybe that I was going to make spears to protect against Pro Scouts. No, this is looking more and more and more like a very dedicated Jugunu rush from the Jushi Legacy player. I try my best to run around. I end up dropping this one and kind of starting to, save these scouts as best as I can, run them off in some different directions to try and protect them. Meanwhile, I'm starting to take some damage here from these Jugunu up here at the front, but I've decided to build myself a Sable because I've seen that there's a lot of enemy units coming from my opponent and I need to protect myself. So he only has 2 up here. I'm more than happy to take a Horseman out here and start to whack down because I've distracted him, of course, with some of his reinforcements, kind of trying to run away from these scouts over on this side. And I'm trying my best to start to secure my second deer pack, which is very far over onto this side. But all of a sudden, this is a confirmation for me. This is a significant amount of feudal pressure. So what do? If I choose to continue with my game plan from the beginning of the game, which is Pro Scouts into Fast Castle, I will die, because the Jugunu rush is one of the most successful and oppressive early rushes you can have in this game, and I would simply get completely pushed off of the entire thing. So you can see my game plan immediately switches. I'm no longer going for castle. I'm no longer doing anything but trying to survive this very early push. I've built 2 stables. I'm getting a blacksmith because I want to get my ranged armor up. I'm not saving resources anymore, banking to get to a sneaky, greedy castle. There's no way for me to do that without dying. I want to commit significantly to feudal because I think that is exactly what my opponent is doing as well. And you can see with this trickle of units across the map that my scouts are keeping an eye on, that's exactly what he's doing. There's a lot of units coming across the field. When you're dealing with the Jugunu rush, one of the most important things you can do is you can build yourself a blacksmith and you can get yourself iron undermesh, 1 ranged armor. You can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure because Jugunus fire, how many is it, 3 bolts? I believe it's multiple, so I think it's 3 bolts. I believe the ranged armor one actually protects you from taking 3 damage. So it's really, really an important upgrade to get if you're ever dealing with this particular unit composition. I end up running up here just to kind of go after a scout a little bit. I didn't mean to run directly into this entire group here because I do not want to fight at all until this upgrade is fully complete and researched. He does a great job of cutting me off here and killing a number of my scouts, and my Pro Scout dreams have really, really taken a huge beating. It was also a very lucky spawn, I would say, for my opponent, because my first deer pack was kind of here. My second one, obviously, is kind of back over on this side, and then his deer pack is here and here. There's no deer pack on this entire, 3/4 bottom side of the map. He doesn't even have to worry about anything down here. He just has to keep a steady trickle of units coming through, and then he can kind of pressure me and keep me off. As this is happening, I have a small group. I cannot fight his large force, but this is a big enough amount now that I can do what I can do best. He has the stand and fight unit composition where if I try to face him in a straight up fight, I will absolutely lose. But I have the mobility. And so this is a case where I'm now going to try and cut off his reinforcements, pick off a couple of more kind of isolated Jugunu as they're trying to make their way to this main force. And again, I'm still just kind of waiting. I'm now trying to get Bloomery as well, but I'm taking much, much less damage. And I've also moved away from the Horsemen. I'm really focusing on trying to build up this Night Mass as much as I possibly can. And in fact, I'm going for a 3rd stable because I'm realizing this is a very significant mass and I need to do my best to stop that. I probably could be doing a better job, to be honest, of trying to tackle his kind of flood of reinforcements coming through, because that's where he's the weakest at the moment, and that's my strength, is I can move around much, much more quickly than he can. So I am coming in a little bit here, and in fact, I do decide now that I have my upgrades and I have a decent amount of units here, it's time to jump in. these units counter these units, and so even though these are very, very strong and powerful units, and he has his ranged damage upgrade, I do have ranged defense, and so I'm happy to throw away some of my units in order to thin out this mass, because the thing about Jugunu is that if you can get to a certain critical mass of like 50 to 80, they will simply shred everything. So I really do want to take my time as much as I can to try and thin out this mass as much as possible. What I'm doing is I'm simply running my units forward and kind of attack moving, whereas my opponent is doing an excellent job of microing, clicking back, hitting the lowest target knight, clicking back, hitting the lowest target knight. But for me, I don't have to focus on that. I can keep going, building my economy and focusing a little bit more on the back while my units kind of auto-attack on the front lines. It's one of the reasons why this is just a much harder strategy to execute than what I currently have going on this side. I built 2 more scouts here. I'm trying to get some more of the deer back into my base. I still have research pro scouts, so investing in a couple more scouts is definitely worth it to get that food back under my TC. And here I am, again, kind of thinning out this mass and doing my best to use these knights to their best ability, which is working out very well. I'm really happy with the amount of units he now has on the field, and I've done a pretty significant amount of damage, and I've definitely, I would say, gained the upper hand from something that was pretty unexpected on my side. This one scout is still just trying to be a little bit annoying, but I'm more than happy to take a little bit of damage here and continue to bring these back. And I've successfully, used my Night Mass to bring him down to almost a pittance of what he once was. So very well played on my part, I think, by getting my upgrades successfully, and then kind of continuing with a part of my game plan. I don't necessarily want to fully commit into Castle Age now, because I don't know if my opponent is continuing to make units or not. In this case, what do I choose to do? I choose to bring my knights around here to check the gold. I want to see now if he is choosing to go Castle Age. This is my thought process, because I don't really know what he's doing at the moment. My scouts are busy getting this deer back to the TC, and I do see some gold villagers make a great play here by moving around the gold towards this side. And why do I come around this side? I'm just going to pause really quickly. It's because if he garrisons his villagers using the hotkey G, they're going to run to the nearest shelter, and the nearest shelter is this village. So I come around this side, which means if he presses to save his villagers, he's literally going to run directly into my knights, and that's exactly what happens. I managed to pick up all 3, and that's a good little amount of eco damage, and I begin to see some spears. So knowing that there are spears here, I'm thinking, okay, there's probably more of a commitment to the feudal aggression now, and I definitely want to, ideally on my side, start to build up some archery ranges. I don't do so just yet, but that should be coming in very, very soon. I'm also floating a significant amount of wood, so that's no problem throwing down those extra military buildings there. I'm just trying to do a little bit of damage, but I am taking a decent amount of hits back from these spears. So this is, I think, is when I realize, okay, I can't just kind of try and continue fighting against this guy. That's not going to work. So I am going to try and eventually build some archery ranges. Hello? Anybody? Anybody home? Maybe I'm just a little bit too focused right now on what's all going on. This meditation garden's continuing to put a decent amount of resources out onto the field. And my opponent is once again massing back up. So this is still fairly large commitment into the feudal age, and I need to be careful. But what did I say at the beginning? This is a great stand and fight army. If my opponent wants to fight me one-on-one, then that's going to be very, very difficult for me to win, especially now that he's mixed in some spears. On my side, though, guess what? I have the mobility. So I'm going to be using these knights as a group to raid while I continue to build up a force at home, just in case he chooses to push in and be more aggressive. So again, I'm kind of trying to come towards this. I think I saw, at least from a distance, yeah, I move in a bit here to see if there's anybody on gold. There's not, so then I kind of loop back around to this side and see if there's anybody out on this area of the map. Well, at this point in time, finally, 3 archery ranges are up, and now I'm starting to build some archers as well. So I'm coming around this way, and I decided, okay, what's going on? And then I think I literally saw it on the minimap when it disappeared. I was like, oh, he just killed the boar. And so I come in at a very, very opportune time with my knights right here, and just like that, come in and capture all these villagers as they were going. So again, really great eco damage, and he is not able to do anything to stop this from happening. So I'm just going to sit here, burn this down, and try to kill as many of these villagers as I can, checking back in to make sure he's not trying to run away too quickly, kind of thing. On my side, I'm continuing to mass up a little bit more knights and archers. He has a fairly large army at this point, which is looking pretty scary. and he does start to go after me. I'm trying to get some extra food out here on this berry bush. He takes down 2 villagers of mine, which is not ideal, but I do manage to kill all these villagers that were out here, and you can see the villager kill numbers 11-2, and I now have a pretty decent economic lead on my opponent, thanks again to using that mobility to my advantage. My opponent's using a good use of the line formation to get as much damage from his Jugunu as possible, getting a lot of coverage from those spears as well. While this time, I see him coming around from the vision of my buildings, and I'm just trying to build up my mass while maybe trying to reconnect my armies on this side. I come in now because I see his spears are a bit out of position. I get a decent charge off, just pull back again. And then I use my archers right here to try my best to start to whittle down these spears. You can see I've shift-clicked, I'm kind of killing them one at a time. He runs his spears a bit further back. I don't have great micro here, which means that my archers are not able to do as much damage, but I do have a lot of knights that are now flanking. These ones were raiding, and now they're back at home to defend. And I'm now going to use just some attack move to try and take out these spears. I still have a couple of archers here that I'm doing my best to kind of shift-click onto these. But if I can even take a decent fight, he had a much, much larger army than mine. And now after just that fight, I've managed to significantly diminish his forces, which is excellent. Exactly what I wanted to do. And just like that, we're now down to almost even military count. And again, I still have the economic advantage thanks to the raiding I was doing earlier. So really good. And once again, based on my early idea of how this game was going to play out, this is completely different. I was not going to be making any knights and archers in the feudal age, but this is a complete adaptation to what I was expecting, or to what I saw my opponent doing, and not what I was expecting at all. I have villagers way out here that are kind of gathering some berries in a bit of a risky way, but he doesn't have a lot of mobility. If I was him and, I would maybe try to take a couple, maybe 1 or 2 Jugunu, and put them onto the pocket resources to see if you can kind of catch me off. That would have definitely hurt on my side. I'm over here trying to build a hunting cabin and then go after my boar on my side. He still has not gone after his, so again, that has been wasted resources on his side so far. And then I'm, again, pushing out, doing my best to whittle down these spear numbers as best as I can. I have a decent force of archers, and then all I have to do is take my knights here and rush the Jugunu side. One thing you'll notice is that he has 20 Jugunu, but only 2 spears. And this is something you kind of have to keep track of when you're doing some of these early rushes, especially against knights, which are very mobile and can catch up to you, and against your archers. You want to make sure you have a relatively decent balance of your army composition. I think one of the reasons why my opponent struggles in this game is he doesn't recognize that he needs to make less Jugunu and more spears because he's lost so many spears. Because the spears are really the only thing that are protecting his Jugunu from being completely overrun by my fairly decently large force of knights. He's over here gathering the deer. As I said, he's literally been hovering his army up on this top half of the map the entire time, preventing me from really getting any of these deer. I do think managed to come out and sneak just a couple more. There's another one that's sitting over here that maybe I grab at some point. I have moved a little bit into farms as well, just going all the way around the town center. Again, why I built the Golden Gate and the stables just a little bit further away from the TC so I could get that full surround of farms. But I am trying to gather the pocket resources as much as I possibly can, because if I can do that, then it's more resources I can put into my full army, essentially. I was using this small group of knights to kind of come up here to see if I could see and get any damage on this side. Unfortunately, I ran directly into his full force, and that was not ideal. But again, I'm just trying to split off and just use these smaller forces to do a little bit more raiding and a little bit more aggression on his side. I'm coming up again wanting to check out his gold to see how committed he is to this current level of aggression. Managed to kill his scouts, so now he's even more blind than he was before, which is very nice. And then I decide to move up to this side and see if there's anything I can do. I do see a 1 villager coming here, and then I see he actually ungarrisons, and I think he wasn't paying attention, and so really quickly I turn back around and I managed to do a little bit more economic damage. 13 villager kills to 3. Great spot to be in. My knights, I think here, I had them on attack move to come up into this corner. They get distracted by the meditation gardens. I don't have any real intention of taking that down at the moment. It is giving them a lot of decent passive resource generation, but it is a bit of a commitment to try and take it down. And once again, my opponent has done a pretty significant investment into rebuilding his military forces. But I'm in better shape because not only do I have a larger villager count, but I also now have started to get my eco upgrades in. Because we've been so committed to the feudal age, this is something that I just want to have. I know that it's going to help my gathering rates, improve the amount of resource generation I've got. In fact, I'll switch over to the visual so you can see we have about equal food generation, I'd say, but I'm double him on the wood, and he's maybe a bit double on me on the gold. But we're still in really good shape against that. And here we go. This is a big fight, but you can see what I was talking about. He currently has 13 spears, and I have 11 knights that are more than happy to rush right in here and kill off the remainder. There's a couple spears actually that are not even in this fight. And just like that, I'm able to take out a significant amount of his mass, and he doesn't have the spear front line to defend against my knights, which is nice. He's doing a good job gathering the spoor now on this side and gathering the pocket resources with the food over here. But still, our military count is pretty even. And if we look at army value, my army value is better, of course, because of those early knights that Roos has. And you can see, I'm pretty sure I'm just a bit low on gold. I think maybe I've moved a bunch onto gold at this point because I do want to keep that knight generation pretty significant, as much as I possibly can at least. Coming forward here again, I run directly into a bit of a force and take a bunch of unnecessary damage. Sometimes it happens, but he runs his spears directly into my archers, and I'm more than happy to turn around and start to take some shots on those as they're a bit overextended into my ranged forces. And here it is. I send 2 knights just around the corner to see if I can do this. You can see I've right-clicked here and then attack move clicked over on here, so they'll automatically attack there. I'm keeping an eye on that in the corner of my eye because ideally I want to start a fight with him just as these arrive, so maybe he's distracted and he's not noticing that those villagers are going down. So you can see I actually turn around right now and start attacking just as this is happening on this side, just to see if maybe that would be enough of a distraction. We don't quite get the timing synced up properly, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not as high as the pros, is because the pros would have done that much more successfully for sure. He manages to essentially save all of them inside of the 2 towers here. So I move on, and I know that there's a wood line over here and all sorts of other things I can potentially be using these knights to attack. Again, shift, click, and then attack, move, click onto somewhere in the wood line. I've now come over here onto this particular gold vein. That's where these villagers will be going afterwards as well. I have a decent amount of food and gold now. I'm also kind of starting to look, maybe there's a castle timing possibility, but I do see now that there's a big fight happening here. I need to pull these villagers and stuff off of the gold. They're starting to go down. He's pushing onto this side, but I do take out a lot of his spears, and now he's down to 10 spears with 60 Jugunu. I'm here. I managed to kill an Imperial official, and this knight is just doing a little bit of work attacking over on this side, preventing a couple of the reinforcements. But this is not the unit composition that you're looking for. As soon as those spears go down, he's in massive trouble. I do get 1 knight impaled, unfortunately, but now I'm able to kind of pick off some more spears. He's down to 6, and that means that these knights have almost nothing stopping them, especially if I move these archers forward and shift-click to the best of my ability on these spears right here. All of a sudden, he's down to 1 spear. And my archers are going to be able to walk after this. I have a huge amount of knights that are absolutely going to stick with him. He can do his kiting trick, but that's not as good anymore because my archers are hitting the entire time as well. So not great. I bring this back. He's now completely idled out on this boar gathering, so his food gather rate is much lower than mine right now. And again, pushing forward and trying my best to take out this entire force of Jugunu. And for the 3rd time, I would say this game, his gigantic, very scary blob of Jugunu ranged units is pretty much completely defeated. So just like that, it is now 63-12. If I cut my unit production here, I've actually started going for siege engineering. I have cut I have 7 knights in queue. If I cut those, I can go up to Castle Age immediately. I'm killing off the remainder of the Jugunu here. I've got him off of gold. And I'm sitting in a very strong position at the moment. I'm able to go after his village, and I'm pretty sure in the next couple of seconds, the GG button is hit by my opponent. As he recognizes, the writing is on the wall, and there's not going to be very much that he's going to be able to do against the amount of forces that I have and the fact that I have so much more generation than him. 17 villagers killed over the course of this game, and even more as these villagers are getting killed as they're trying to escape to the TC. And with that, my opponent says, good game, well played. And that, I think, is a decent example of how you can see or have a game plan in your mind see what your opponent is doing and be willing to throw the whole thing out the window. Because if you're willing to do that, then that means you're going to be winning a lot more games than if you stick very solidly to what you want to do. If somebody's being aggressive towards you, whether it's a tower rush, whether it's very early feudal aggression, be willing to throw your plan by the wayside, react more significantly to what they're doing, and do your best to push them back from that point forward. There are weaknesses to those strategies, and I showed them, at least in this case. If you're going to be Zhuge-Nu rushing the Rus, you definitely want to have an answer to those early knights because they are very difficult to deal with, even with the multiple hit shots of those Zhuge-Nu. So hopefully that has helped you. I know it was fairly Rus and Jushi specific, but it is a general concept that does apply across a lot of different things. So I hope you found that useful. There's going to be more Age of Empires 4 stuff going on. As you can see, I have a different background now. Completely kind of renovated my office here to get some different things going on. But now that that's done, I'm excited to get some more Age of Empires 4 content coming to you guys and get some more streaming going on as well. So looking forward to that over the course of the summer. Hope you guys are having a great one out there, enjoying the hot weather or the cold weather, depending where you are technically in the world. And we will catch you in the next Age of Empires video. Thank you again so much for watching, and bye for now.